And we are ready here. Welcome to the special meeting of the Sonoma Cultural and Fine Arts Commission. Today's date is February 20th. It is 6 p.m. At first, we will call this meeting to order and pass it over to our city clerk for a roll call, or our deputy clerk.
Chair Hagstrom.
Here.
Commissioner Kershner. Here. Commissioner Momsen.
Here.
Commissioner Knutson.
Here.
Commissioner Smull.
Present.
Youth Commissioner Alioto.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll start with any comments from the public via Zoom or in the house.
Chair Hagstrom, if I may, just an announcement that the city has suspended Zoom comments. Individuals can still participate is by coming into the council chambers where the meeting is being held to make comments, or they could submit them in writing. They can do that on the Civic web portal at public comment, or they can go to submit them to publiccomment@sonomacity.org. And just so you know,
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions about Zoom being suspended? Okay, thank you. So we're ready to jump ahead to item 2, the presentation section of the meeting. We'll start with item 2.1, an overview of the 2024 council goals. And this will be presented by our city manager, David Guhin.
Well, good evening, and thank you. First, thank you for letting me have a few minutes of your time tonight, and second, thank you for your service to the city. I know it takes time, you're volunteering, we appreciate that, we recognize that, and what you do and all the other boards and commissions do for us is incredible, and we need you to keep doing your job to help us, so thank you for the work you do. We appreciate it. And I'm hoping to engage with you more this coming year. This first 8 months has been just getting the ground under my feet here and getting things going. One of the first things that I'm doing this go around this year is working on setting up processes and procedures that we can follow every year. So there's a little bit more rhythm to how we move forward as a city, and we're all going together. So as we work through things as a city, the council sets the goals, they set the direction we're going as a city. That's essentially direction for me for the next coming year on what I work on over the next year and how I align resources, how I set up the budget, and then also how we work with all the boards and commissions to help align those goals and try to achieve those goals together. So we're all working together towards getting something done. So this year we did a goal setting, was it 2 weeks ago now? And it was a Friday, all-day Friday at the lodge, and we had a facilitated meeting and talked through what the council wanted to do. We heard from the public. We had a great turnout from the public and got a lot of input, and the goal of that meeting was to leave with 5 clear goals for where we want to go. So I wanted to go over that with you today. You're getting a preview of this. I wanted to show this to all the board and commissions to make sure that you heard what came out of that meeting. I'm going to see all the other boards and commissions after the council ratifies those goals. So essentially what happened is 2 weeks ago, they set those goals, they agreed by consensus. I'm bringing those back to council tomorrow night to ratify them. So council will have a chance to review them, hear from the public, and then vote on them or provide comments or feedback or any changes, and then vote on them, and then they'll be put into a resolution, and then I'll take those and run with them, and we'll move forward. I do want to clarify everything I say tonight with the caveat that it's conditional on council approving, ratifying them tomorrow night, but I want to make sure you had it because the next time you meet, I think, is quite a few months from now, and so I wanted you to wait for that meeting. So we're here tonight. I will go ahead and move along. The first goal that they came up with was housing, which is probably not a surprise. It's something that the community has been talking about for some time. This council has been very clear about the need for housing in Sonoma, not just affordable housing, but not just market rate housing, but affordable housing and missing middle and workforce housing. And so those are some key differentiations between how those housing units are built, how they're prioritized, how they're funded, and the different types of work that we need to do as staff and boards and commissions, the planning commission and others, to make sure that those are successful. So each one of those will have a different work plan, different approach on addressing how to accomplish those. The other thing that's really important about housing is the process we work through. So when plans come into the office, how do we move those through efficiently? So it's all about time, certainty, and cost. If we can move a project through with certainty, we can reduce the cost for getting those done, and we can do it in a timely way. Things become more approachable and more achievable by developers for the type of units we want to see in Sonoma. So that's on us as city staff to develop that and come through with our processes and update that. We do have a new community development director we hired about 2 months into my purview here. She's Jennifer Gates, who's been doing a great job at looking at our processes and cleaning those processes up, working with the Planning Commission and Design Review Board to help move those projects through much quicker. And then also financing. You need money to build this type of housing. So getting creative with financing, looking at housing bonds. There's a regional housing bond that is going to be on the November 24 ballot that we're keeping a close eye on and participating in how we might be ready for those funds if they come through. But then also looking at other funding sources out there to bring money into the community to help build these units and get these units off the ground. The second one was economic development and revenue stewardship. So one of the purviews of the city council is to be the financial stewards for the city and make sure that we're managing our funds in the most correct way. So we have to do that through a lot of different ways. One of those is through creating an environment where our businesses thrive, especially our small businesses, our local businesses. What do they need to thrive and be successful? We need to attract and retain a diverse type of business model in Sonoma. It can't just be one business or one type of model. So when one thing goes down, you need to have a fairly diverse network. And then looking at different revenue enhancing strategies. So everything we want to do, any enhanced services we want to provide to the city, anything we want to do, such as art programs and other different things that you all want to do, we need to generate revenue. We need to have funds. We have general fund to support those efforts. And so looking at different ways we can bring funding into the city to align those through grants, through other type of partnerships, and then even a potential revenue measure, which I'll talk about in a little bit, in November to bring additional revenue into the city. The third one is the Parks and Recreation and Community Services. So the city does not have a Parks and Rec department. We essentially manage our parks and our recreation programs through an all-hands-on-deck approach. Everyone kind of chips in. Public Works, our administration office jumps in and helps with events, with managing the plaza, with maintaining all of our parks, with our arts program, supporting this commission, our recreation programs, working with our nonprofits, all the agreements we have in place. So it's a lot of work. In addition to, we own and operate 3 cemeteries, which is not very common in California or anywhere for a city to own and operate cemeteries. So that's something that we have to manage on a full-time basis, generate revenue off those to make sure they're viable, but also create them as a place that you want to attract people to and have as a park asset for the community to enjoy. So having a Parks and Rec department to oversee all that and pull it all together and connect the dots is something that we're looking at doing this year. That would mean we would need revenue to try to enhance that, to provide the staffing for that, but also to provide the funding to put into infrastructure and enhancements to those services, of parks and arts programs and other services. And then also prioritizing collaboration of the community. We can't do this alone. Obviously, with boards and commissions, you all volunteering your time so we can make this work, but we also have a lot of nonprofits out there that are doing a lot of work for us through recreation programs, the Boys and Girls Club, the Vintage House, others that we help support through funding. So how can we enhance those programs and enhance our support for those programs so they can provide more services to the community at large? The other, I think this is the fourth goal, is climate mitigation and adaptation. We do have a climate commission that is established, similar to you all. They're all appointed and are doing a great job. They just produced a climate strategies document that lists a number of climate strategies that they recommended to the city council. Those were brought to the city council approved those, and as part of the goal setting, the council said, that's a priority for us, let's implement those goals. So part of this is to implement the work that the Climate Action Commission did, and look at a number of things, including public transit and capital trees. We capitalize that because there's a lot involved in trees. There's everything from roots that push up sidewalks to providing resources for residents in terms of what street trees to plant, to looking at tree canopy, heat zones and heat deserts. I don't know if that's the right term. We were just talking about this a minute ago, but areas where we're low on our tree canopy within the city, and then also carbon sequestration and other things that go along with trees. So they're critical in a lot of different ways. There's a meeting coming up, I believe, next week, where the Planning Commission, the Climate Commission, and the pros are all meeting to talk about trees because it touches so many things. It touches our planning, our permits, our parks, our climate. So we want to get everybody together and talk about that. What does that mean and how do we move forward together? So it's a really important topic. And then there's a number of other initiatives on there. And if you want to learn more about those climate strategies, they're on our website. You can go to the city's website. You can see all the different strategies there listed. And finally, another topic that we're going to be looking at is the potential and viability of annexation and unification. And that's, everyone thinks mainly of the Springs area to our west, but there also are other little areas to the south and to the east here where we're also looking at potential and what the viability of that is, and some islands within the city. So the goal of this is really to initiate that community input and community feedback process, to hear from the community. Is this something that's of interest? What are the services and things that are not being adhered to now, or not available to people that are not in the city? Understand what those issues might be. LAFCO, which is our local agency formation committee, they're the commission that essentially establishes and allows annexations to happen. So before you go too far in the process, they do an assessment to look at the financial feasibility and other things. So the goal would be to get feedback from the city and the county to determine, do we want to move forward with this, explore that, look at the feasibility, see if it's something we want to pursue. It's a long process. It'll take a long time. So this is just the very first step to explore and hear from the public. And we want to make sure we're transparent and inclusive in this process to make sure everyone knows what we're doing, why we're doing it, what will be done with the data that we collect. So that's going to be something that's going to be discussed tomorrow as well, in terms of if council wants to move forward with that. So those are our 5 goals that came out of the meeting. So that's our job for the next year. It's my work plan, essentially. And so this gives us some direction. So the way I like to look at this is that any projects we do, anything we do with funding, we create a budget every year that in July. I'm going to be looking at that all through the lens of these goals to make sure that we're not losing sight of these goals, that we're all working together to achieve these goals. We have to have the staff aligned, we have to have the boards and commissions aligned, we have to have our budgets and revenue aligned, or else we won't see progress. So I'll be working with our staff and the boards and commissions. If there's ways, anything on here you see that you can help provide input on or thoughts, please feel free to let us know. We'd love to talk about that. I know we've talked about the arts master plan and other types of initiatives. Obviously, there's a lot of cross-section there in the Parks and Rec department that I've talked about. If we do create that Parks and Rec department, I anticipate that department would support this commission, and that would be a resource for this commission along the way. So I believe that's the last slide we have. I think one more slide. This is how you can find us. There's a lot of information on our website. You all know that very well. But anybody watching, you can go to the website. There is a web page now with the council goals, everything I talked about here on the website. So if you want to look at that or share it with anybody, or if anybody has any questions, you can do that. So again, this is not ratified by council. I'm going to caveat that one more time. Council needs to act on that tomorrow night to make this final and official. And we'll receive feedback from them and the public. And but until then, if you have any questions or you want me to expand on anything, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The term you were looking for is heat island.
Heat island,
Yes.
thank you. Not desert.
That's
Heat
right.
desert would be, that's kind of, yeah. You good? Okay.
Okay, well,
All right.
thank you,
Of course.
City Manager David Guhin.
Good. Thank you so much. Thanks for your
Okay.
time.
All right, well, thank you again. And moving on to item 3, Special Calendar City Council. Item 3.1 is the election of officers for this commission. This election happens once a year. Do you have
I just had a request if the commission would be willing to move 3.1 to the last item on the agenda and go ahead and take 3.2 first if the commission's
Okay.
willing to do that.
Okay. We will jump to item 3.2, the ad hoc committee updates. Starting with number 1, public art policy. Who amongst us will report?
Thank you.
Meredith.
I will. And Lauren and Connie are on the committee with me as well. We met with Tara Thompson, the new executive director of Creative Sonoma, recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. And she gave us really great insight onto, she did a lot of policy work for Santa Rosa, and also is working with Creative Sonoma on some policies there as well. So currently we've been working through our policy, and we've identified about 5 different areas that really need attention. The funding, temporary and permanent art, the commission's role, and the purpose and reason for the policy. So we've been working on a shared document back and forth on these areas, and we're meeting with David, city manager, on Thursday to review our outline of what we'd like to see updated in the policy. So I think at the next meeting update, we would have more further on exactly what those items are and what it would look like and how we're going to move forward, whether it's with a stakeholder committee or what. We'll get more information from David at the meeting. That's it. Yeah. Any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
I guess I have a quick comment. And as far as timeline goes, we have been working really hard to get moving along on this since we know it's important. So I think end of March is when we're hoping to really have something solid to present to the city for approval.
And if I can, when you talked about funding, was there monies earmarked for the public art policy already in place?
There is, when I'm speaking of funding, it's how is their money contributed to the public art fund. So we're looking at additional ways. So right now, every year, city council, either they give, I forget what percentage it is, 1%, something, into the public art fund unless it's waived. And then also any city development projects, if they're 250,000 or more, a percentage of the valuation cost goes into the public art fund. So those are the only 2 ways right now money is put into our public art fund. And we're looking at additional ways that we can also receive money into the public art fund, as there's not many city development projects. And that way we can utilize that fund for, right now it's only permanent work, but we're looking at adding temporary art into that. That way for other projects, they'd have to be passed through the commission, but we could utilize that fund for more items.
And another question, the money that's in the fund, does that need to be spent within a calendar year or a fiscal year, or is it
No,
cumulative?
it's accumulated there. It's in a
Okay.
public art trust, so it's actually earmarked that it can only be used for whatever it's outlined in the policy and ordinance to use it for. Yeah, so it stays there.
Right. Thank you. Does anyone now have any other questions? Any other comments? Public, well, we don't do public, staff comments?
Actually, we will take public comment, but if you want to go through all of the updates first, and then we can take public
Okay.
comments. And
Perfect, so we'll move ahead to item 2, the 2024 Treasure Artist Reception and Volunteer Signups. Who would like to take on this task?
I think I was going to take that on today. I'm on the subcommittee with Morgan and Deb, and Sarah has been helping a lot too, so feel free to jump in. So this is one of the fun things we get to do as a commission. So we've been plugging away at planning a really awesome party for Victor. It's going to be a little different than the treasure artist receptions we've done in the past. It's definitely more family centered. We decided to make the cost free to attend, and donations are optional. We will still have some food, some drinks, decorations. We're pulling in the theme of his art and craft into it. You know, we have Gosh, I think most everything taken care of. We'll send an email out to have signups for volunteers with setup, breakdown, things like that. And we're also asking the public and the committee to help promote the event. The city has printed materials, social media posts, links. It's on the website. I think it's Eventbrite is there as well. So lots of options to share it. We're at about 50 reservations so far, and that's not including the public officials and us and things. So I think it will be a pretty good showing. I think we're planning for like 150, possibly 175. So it will be at the El Verano School on March 19th at 6 p.m. And I think that's everything. Does anyone have any questions?
As for volunteer signups, what are some of the volunteer positions you're looking to fill?
Yeah, and I think we're going to send out a comprehensive list in an email as well, but, you know, some setup and breakdown help, register, the front table, check-in, serving the beverages. I think that's about it. We're not doing wine at this event since it's at a school, but we'll have some non-alcoholic options.
Are there any volunteer opportunities before the event?
I don't think so. I mean, I think if helping to promote it in your free time would be helpful. And Morgan, do you have anything to comment on that? I don't think so.
No, I don't think there's anything that needs to happen beforehand.
So is there a flyer that I can post at work?
Yeah.
I should have brought copies. I can't believe I have 1,000 of them in my
Okay.
cubicle. And I have been delivering them around a bit, but I do have some in my office. Anybody is welcome to come by and pick them up, or if you want to message me, I can drop them off wherever you would like to receive them.
Quick note, I think those flyers look great, and I'm really excited that we did a volunteer or a suggested donation to open up the doors to really, make it a community event. I'm really excited about it, and it's really cool how it came together.
Okay, that concludes item 2. Then we'll jump to item 3, which is City Council Rotating Art Program. And I assume that's what we see here on our walls.
That is, Meredith really took the lead on this show. These are the Sweetwater artists. As far as updates, we're trying to streamline the process. So we've typed up kind of a document of like guidelines of what the art would need to be, 2D, matted, frames optional, artist name provided on a sheet, things like that. And then kind of a schedule so that if we were going to keep this going every 4 or 3 months, it's the same genre of show, a youth show for a couple of months, a community like art program show, whether it's this or Artiscape or the community center. If we're going to continue with the Vintage Festival contest, having that be just every year, hanging the entries, or seeing what else the Sonoma Historical Society has, like a Sonoma themed show, and then having like an Earth Day. They do the Earth Day photo contest, so like displaying those. So taking things that are already happening in the community instead of constantly like reaching out to artists, finding artists, looking for artists. It's just a process. Like these 3 months, it's always a youth show. The teachers get the email in advance and they provide the work. So just streamlining the process so that this ad hoc committee can dissolve. Anything else to say? Oh, there's a reception for this show on this Friday at 4 to 6.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about it today actually because we received a submission in for a single artist. And while that's great, it's really important that we do more group shows and have a theme for diversity, inclusion, accessibility, all of that. When we open it up to a single artist, it would have to be a call for all artists. And so I think that's a great reason for doing the group shows. And then also relieves the ad hoc committee from doing that in their scheduled shows. So I think that's great.
I have a question. So with these regular themes or groups, how many per year are you considering?
We were planning like 4 a year, so they're in there for 3 months at a time. And then there's time to do a reception and have multiple meetings with the same art. And also it's like just as far as take up and removal, it just gives time.
Can I ask a question? When you were looking at the different types of the shows, did you factor in the treasure artist and the student artist as part of that?
We did not, just because it's not always a 2D art. So you could, on a year that the treasure artist has 2D art, remove one of the other shows for that year. But we didn't want to schedule that because like this year, it's like dance. Then you would have a gap where you have to call for some other kind of artists. But yeah, you could just be like, okay, this year we're doing the treasure artist. We're not doing the Earth Day or whatever when the commission decided.
Thank you.
Related to the youth treasure artist, how many submissions do we have currently?
Well, we're going to stay on schedule here. We're not talking about treasure artists quite yet. So we can bounce that back to when we have sort of an open comment, okay? We're going to stay on task here. Sorry. And then I'll jump back to the agenda here, which is we're done with Morgan and her rotating art program. Thank you. That's great information and a great show. We're going to jump to line item 4, the utility box art wrap project. Okay, Meredith?
Great. Yes, our team, our committee really divided and conquered this. I was really pleased with the work we got done in a small amount of time. So Sarah measured the utility boxes, and Scott reached out to Fast Signs and Sinorama, and I don't have the quote in front of me. I believe it was $7,000 or $8,000 in order to wrap the utility boxes. We did hear back from Caltrans, and those boxes would be able to be wrapped. PG&E boxes you cannot wrap. So after then connecting with Sarah about this, originally it was going to be included in the meeting for the goals, but it would be something now that once we look at adding temporary artwork to the policy, if that were to go through, we could then utilize the public art funds for this, if that's something that the commission decides at the time in order to do, correct?
That's one possibility, but there is support from administration to move forward with this project before.
Great.
The policy is that it would require some budget requests. So there is a process for that, but I'm working with the city manager to find a pathway forward. So it shouldn't stop us from moving forward with the project because there is interest in getting some actual artwork up with this group. So there is support for it. We just need to go through the proper channels for
Okay,
it.
so as soon as then the budget's confirmed, the next steps would be putting together a call for art and figuring out how many artists, is there a theme, all of that, and then navigating that call for art in order to move forward with this.
Okay, any questions with the commissioners regarding the... Yes, Mario?
Now, do the wraps have to be replaced like every couple of years or so? And if so, are you going to use the same art? Or are you going to use different art from the same artist or like different artists' work? Like, how is that going to work?
Yeah, that's a good question. They do have a good life on these wraps. Sometimes it could be up for 20 years. But those are good questions for when we put together a budget. So if something does happen to the wrap and it starts to peel, what does the replacement look like? Is it something we take down? How easy is it to take down? Or is it something replaced? So that's a great question. We could include that in the budget for replacement or takedown and staff time.
I have a question. What was the name of the supplier of the wrap? Is it Sign?
Sinorama and Fast Signs were the two quotes that we received. We'd love to use a local company, but I'm not aware of any local company that does these. So if anyone is, it would be great to learn.
Sinorama and whom?
Fast Signs.
And both of these groups have put wraps on utility boxes
Yes.
before? Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well then that will conclude item 3.2, and we will jump back to 3.1 after first checking in with
Actually,
Rebecca?
now you can ask if there's any more questions from the commission and then public comment.
Okay, perfect. So before we jump into the election of officers, we will conclude the ad hoc committee updates by allowing the public to comment. So are there any public comments regarding the four items? Okay. Any city staff comments? Okay, and we've concluded that there are no more commissioner comments. So with that, we will jump back or ahead, depending on what you look at, how you see that, to the election of officers section. Will city staff be opening up the dialogue? Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Chair Hagstrom and commissioners. So this is something typically that's done at the first meeting of the year. It did get away from us this year with a lot of changes that were going on with the commission and committee policy. I had sent out emails to all of you regarding all the commissions and changes. We did want to bring this forward prior to the April meeting, and so we're bringing this forward tonight. The way this works is that there will be nominations for the position of chair, and that's just, you don't have to, there's no seconds involved. If someone makes a nomination, then if somebody makes another nomination, we go through till there's no nominations left. And then the first person that was nominated, we do a roll call vote, and it proceeds in that until the person is receives a majority of the votes. And that's based on the Robert's Rules of Orders. It's how it's put in place, the way we do this. That being said, when that's done, then the transition will take place if there is one, and then the same process will be used for the vice chair. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Chair Hagstrom. Yes.
Can people who are not present be nominated?
Anyone on the commission can be nominated with the exception of the alternate and the youth member. I would hope that that person would know that you were going to nominate them prior to.
Okay, so we will open up the nomination process. And please activate your microphones and nominate your commissioner for chair.
I nominate Steve Hagstrom as chair for this year's term, if you'd allow it.
Any other nominations? Okay. Well, we'll hand this back to our city clerk or our deputy city clerk, sorry, Monique.
Commissioner Kershner?
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen?
Yes.
Commissioner Knutson?
Yes.
Commissioner Smull?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Yay me. Okay, so jumping right along to our vice chair position. Again, we'll nominate through your recommendations. I nominate Connie Schlelein.
I heard a rumor that Connie wasn't interested in the vice chair position, but I can't say for sure. But since she's not here, I can't speak for her.
I got a message saying she was okay chairing. So I don't know when the messages were received, but that's my latest news.
I nominate Connie as well.
Ms. Monique?
Commissioner Kershner?
Aye.
Commissioner Momsen?
Aye.
Commissioner Knutson?
Aye.
Commissioner Smull?
Aye.
Chair Hagstrom?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries unanimously.
Okay. So we are status quo on the election of officers and the appointments. So thank you. Now we'll jump ahead to item 4, which is the commissioners' reports and comments. So this is an opportunity for just basic questions. And Mario, if you want to jump back in and
Gladly.
okay, go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, is it appropriate to ask how many submissions we have for the Youth Treasure Artist, or is that confidential?
Oh, I don't think it's something that we as commissioners know. This is a question that you can ask city staff.
City staff, do you know how many?
Yes, so it's the Student Creative Artist Award, and we have not received any submissions yet. That's not atypical because it is a lot to put together unless you really knew about it long ago, writing a statement and getting your artwork. Looking at past years, it looks like most come in kind of the week of the deadline, but so they are open, and the press release was sent out. An initial outreach has been made to all of the high school teachers in the region. That includes not just Sonoma Valley High School, but Creekside, and I also reached out to Credo and other places that I know that our local students may travel to. There's a few I still have left to do, but again, this is one of those. I also reached out to the Dragon's Tail, hoping that they will print it in their publication. And like our other events, I have flyers and would be happy to pass them out. And sharing is caring. So do share. I'll put together all the links and all the materials for all the things we have going on, so that whatever platforms you are using, or if you're out and about in the world, you can have flyers to hand out when you go. That I'll make sure that you are well armed with all of those things.
Okay. Does that help, Mario?
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Sorry to have to put you at the tail end there, but we wanted to stay on task. And we have a little section for comments. So are there any other comments by commissioners or?
Just on that topic, maybe giving those to like Artiscape or the community center.
I also did outreach to them, but I haven't it's been a little too wet, so I'm waiting for a break in the rain to actually make house calls. But yeah, definitely. And if you have other ones, I know the usual suspects, but I always welcome anybody who wants to send me contacts for anything, even if it's within an organization I've already done outreach to. Sometimes a specific teacher or something might have a connection that maybe it doesn't get to them within an organization. So never hesitate to grow my contact list. Thank you.
Just one thing came to mind is there is the Fine Arts High School in Novato, and there are a lot of Sonoma kids that go there. I don't know much more about it other than just that very brief description.
I know some kids commute there. Like, I have a couple friends that I've known for quite a while that do commute there. That's also, if a lot of people want to do it, and specifically it is an arts high school, I don't know how that's going to, go over, because we might have a surplus of admissions.
Yeah.
So
We love surpluses.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
We are open to all. Do you know the proper name of that high school?
It's Marin School of the Arts.
Okay.
But it is also connected to Novato High School. So it's, I think it's I think they're both the same, but just the Marin School of the Arts is like just for the arts specifically, but still connected to Novato High.
Yeah.
That's where I'm thinking something might not go wrong there, but something is gonna.
Well, we're looking at participants that live in Sonoma, not go to school in Sonoma. And we've had past winners that went to Cardinal Newman or the San Anselmo School. I can't remember that one either. I think it's an all-girls school in San Anselmo, the cellist. But then there's also Napa, Justin Siena. So those. Anyway, we're just sort of brainstorming about other options for passing out flyers, and it would be Marin School of the Arts, Justin Siena, and that other school in San Anselmo that I cannot recall. Okay, well, with that, we'll jump back to our list here, and we'll go on to item 5, I suppose, which was city staff comments and announcements.
Other than the Student Creative Artist, I didn't have anything specific to this. You guys have covered. We are busy. A lot of the events, especially. So excited for the artist reception on Friday. I think it's going to be really well attended. So we're excited for that. And of course, the Treasure Artist. We just keep plugging along. So I don't really have much to add unless Rebecca does.
Just a reminder that with the changes that the City Council made to the commission and committee appointment policies, it doesn't really apply to this commission because you're already a 7-member board. But the others that are not, they will be adding 2 at-large members to each of them. So ability to submit applications is, it's open. Individuals are encouraged to apply. One other thing that was going to be a little bit different is, and unfortunately we know Mario is probably going to be leaving us to go to school, but the youth member, which when we replace his position, they'll now be, his position would have gone through 2025, September 30th of 2025, and so we will be looking for a new youth member as when he leaves us. So we'll be recruiting for that at that time.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, if there are no other announcements, then we will adjourn the meeting. So it is 6:43, and that concludes the special meeting of the Cultural Fine Arts Commission. And thank you very much.